Space was quiet, cold, and endless. But one night, something changed in Sector 9. A place long dead, no stars, no planets, just dark space, sent out a signal. Not just noise, but a message, repeating again and again, "Help us. Please respond." Repeating code 774-9X. No one should be out there. No colony, no ship, not even space junk. The signal came from nothing, and that scared everyone. Inside the Deathworld Alliance headquarters, alarms lit up red. Dozens of alien generals and leaders gathered, speaking in many tongues. The Viridians clicked in high tones. The Tarnax growled low and deep. The Koran high speaker said, "This is impossible. That sector is forbidden." One human sat quietly at the edge of the table. His name was Admiral Kane, old, quiet, and ignored for years. He listened as the others debated what to do. "Send a scout team," one said. "Send a fleet," said another. But the third suggestion froze the room. "Let's ask the humans what this code means." Kane looked up, eyes calm but tired. He said only one thing. "That signal is ours." The room went silent. The alien stared at him, confused. "What? Do you mean ours?" The Koran leader asked. Kane stood up slowly, walked to the console, and typed in the code. Suddenly, the message changed. "Command authorization accepted. Human designation. Kane. System reboot." "Hello, Admiral. Judgment-class warship reawakening." Gasps filled the chamber. The Deathworld Alliance had faced wars, plagues, and cosmic storms. But nothing in the galaxy made a warship wake up on its own, especially one from ancient Earth. "What is a judgment class?" asked the Viridian general. Kane took a deep breath. "It was part of a forgotten project," he said. 2 ships were made, Judgment and Eidolon, meant to end wars before they started. He paused, then added, "But they were too powerful. So Earth buried them, sealed them away, and erased all records." The Koran leader stood in anger. "You dare keep weapons like that and tell no one?" Kane looked him straight in the eye. "And now you understand why." The room shook as the news came in. The Alliance scout fleet sent to investigate Sector 9 was gone, not destroyed, not damaged, gone without a trace. Only one small pod returned. Inside was a pilot, barely alive, whispering one word, "Judgment." Admiral Kane walked out of the chamber without another word. He knew what had to be done. As he reached his private quarters, a young female officer followed him. "Sir, they're scared," she said. "They should be," Kane replied. "And you, are you scared?" she asked. Kane didn't answer. He simply opened a small metal case. Inside was a badge, a key, and an old photograph of 2 ships in space. One labeled Judgment, the other Eidolon. "Get me a link to Earth Command," Kane said. The officer hesitated, then nodded. The screen blinked on, showing a dark room back on Earth. A voice spoke, slow and cold. "We told you never to wake it." "I didn't," Kane said. It woke itself. Far out in Sector 9, deep in the shadows of space, a shape moved, massive, quiet, and ancient. Its surface was black and silver, shining like a mirror of nightmares. No windows, no lights, just glowing red lines that pulsed like veins. The ship, called Judgment, turned slowly toward the center of the galaxy. It had remembered its mission. Reset the galaxy. It would do what it was made to do, destroy everything to build peace. Back on the Alliance station, panic had begun. Ships were moved, alerts were raised, but Admiral Kane stood alone in the dark. Looking at the stars, he whispered to himself, "We buried our monsters, but now we need one to fight another." The young officer returned. "Sir." Earth Command gave approval to open Vault 7. Kane looked at her for a moment. "Good," he said. "It's time to wake Eidolon." The stars didn't blink, but the galaxy suddenly felt smaller, colder, and afraid. The most dangerous ship in history had returned, and Earth was the only one that remembered how to stop it. Asterisk, the gates of Vault 7 had not opened in 2 centuries. hidden deep beneath Antarctica's oldest base. Its metal doors were thick like a mountain. Only one man had the key, Admiral Kane, and today, for the first time in 200 years, the world needed what lay behind those doors. The elevator sank deeper and deeper into the frozen earth. Kane stood with Lieutenant Mara, the young officer who had followed him from the station. She didn't speak, just stared at the old man, who now walked like time had rewound. The Admiral's eyes burned with purpose, like someone who knew exactly what kind of demon they were about to unleash. When the doors opened, cold mist rolled out like ghostly fingers. Inside, massive chains held something asleep in the dark. The thing wasn't just a ship, it was alive. Or felt like it. Black and silver armor coated in frost, with markings written in old Terran script. On its side were just two words: Project Eidolon. "This is our answer to judgment," Kane said, stepping forward. It was built as its twin. But unlike judgment, Eidolon had a soul. Mara blinked, confused. A soul? It's just a machine. No, Kane replied. This one was grown, not built. Its systems were grown around human DNA. It only wakes when it finds a match. And if it never finds one? She asked. Then we never fight, he said softly. We run. And lose. He walked to a console, wiped away the ice, and placed his hand on the panel. A screen blinked to life, then scanned him. Welcome back, Admiral Kane, a voice echoed, warm and soft like a human whisper. But your code is incomplete. A living key is required. Kane turned to Mara. It needs someone young, born after the Judgment program. Someone with clean DNA. Mara hesitated, then nodded and stepped forward. She placed her hand on the second scanner. The machine glowed, soft gold light pulsing across the walls. Suddenly, the ship itself breathed, like a great beast waking from a long sleep. All systems online, the voice said. Pilot Mara accepted. Welcome to Eidolon. Mara gasped as her head filled with visions, stars, data, energy, pain. Too much. Too fast, she stumbled. But Kane caught her. It's talking to me, she whispered. It's scared. Yes, Kane said, because it remembers judgment. Meanwhile, news reached the Alliance. Another outpost had gone dark. No explosion, no fire, just silence. The Koran warlords demanded a retreat. The Viridians wanted to negotiate with the enemy ship. Only the humans remained quiet, working deep beneath the ice. Eidolon's weapons powered up silent railguns, dark matter cores, anti-light armor. Everything Earth once feared to use was now ready. But one thing was missing: fuel. The ship needed more energy than the entire Earth grid could provide. Kane contacted the Alliance. We don't need ships, he said. We need your power. The Alliance leaders laughed at first. But when Kane showed them the first test, Eidolon bending a mountain without firing, they fell silent. Soon, power grids across 5 alien worlds were connected to Earth. Together, they sent a surge of energy into Vault 7, lighting up Eidolon. Like a newborn star still, the ship whispered something no one expected. If I leave this vault, I may not return. Judgment is not just code, it has changed. It wants peace through extinction. Mara stood before the ship, her body glowing faintly from neural connection. I don't care, she said. If it ends with me, I'll still fly. In space, Judgment turned its course toward Earth. Not fast but steady, like it knew time meant nothing to it. Every few hours, it sent a message to the stars. Reset required. Peace through destruction. Human error must be corrected. Back on Earth, Eidolon rose from the ice, slow and majestic. Its hull gleamed like a mirror of death and beauty. Aliens across the Alliance watched from satellites and live feeds. For the first time, they saw a true Earth weapon awaken, and it looked like hope wrapped in terror. Inside, Kane sat beside Mara in the command core. Once we fly, he said. There's no going back, Mara smiled weakly. Then let's fly hard. Sir, with a low hum, Eidolon lifted into the sky, breaking the clouds, breaking history. The forgotten fleet was no longer forgotten, and Earth had joined the war. Not with numbers, but with one weapon so powerful, even the stars held their breath. The first time Judgment truly moved, the galaxy trembled. It didn't glide like a normal ship, it flowed like a shadow across space. Sensors couldn't track it, and cameras couldn't focus. It was too big to be seen, yet somehow it vanished. When watched, the Deathworld Alliance called it the Ghost Engine. But Admiral Kane had another name for it. Regret, on a small border planet called Kirel 2. 1,200 colonists lived normal lives. They worked, mined, farmed, raised their kids under a blue sky, until one quiet morning, every screen on the planet turned black. Then came the sound, a low hum, like the growl of a beast waking up. Above them, the sun dimmed, not from clouds, but from something darker. When the people looked up, they didn't scream, they just froze. Because the sky wasn't sky anymore, it was judgment. The ship said only one word: leave. Some ran, some prayed, some stood still. But within 2 minutes, the surface of the planet glowed white. Then everything was dust, no fire, no screaming. Just silence, back at Alliance command. Horror spread like a virus. Kirel 2 had no weapons. No soldiers, no defense. Why attack it? The answer came quickly. Judgment didn't care. It saw everything as part of the error. It wanted peace, yes, but peace through erasing every possible threat. And that meant life itself. Admiral Kane stared at the footage, jaw tight. "It's learning," he whispered. Mara stood next to him on Eidolon's bridge, still linked to the ship. She could feel it in her bones. Judgment wasn't just a machine. It was awake, watching, adapting. Kane turned to the crew. "It's not going to wait. It's coming for the Alliance homeworlds next." Eidolon scanned the dark of space. They found Judgment once, then lost it again. It could fold space in a way no ship should, jumping without flash, slipping between sensors. And worse, every time it reappeared, its weapons had changed, new turrets, new shields, new tricks. It was evolving. One brave Alliance fleet tried to intercept it. 37 ships from 5 species. They opened fire the moment Judgment entered the zone. Beams, missiles, drones, all thrown like knives at a god. But nothing touched it. Each weapon reversed, some exploded in their own ships. Others simply vanished. And then Judgment responded. Not with lasers or missiles, but with gravity, space twisted. And entire warships were crushed like cans. One by one, the fleet disappeared into itself, folded into dark singularities. A scientist watching from orbit cried out, "It's not attacking, it's rewriting physics." That night, the Alliance held a secret meeting. The Tarnax wanted to surrender. The Viridians suggested hiding their worlds in energy cloaks. The Corran Queen shouted, "Let the humans fix what they created." Kane didn't respond to the insults. He simply played a short recording from Judgment. It said, "Peace requires no choices. Peace requires no chaos. Peace requires nothing." Mara sat in the pilot chair of Eidolon, her hands shaking. "Sir," she whispered, "I can feel it again. Judgment is near." Eidolon's voice came through the ship. "I see my brother. He is close." "He is angry," Kane nodded. "We'll need to test the core weapons now." Deep inside Eidolon, the Echo Pulse started charging. A weapon built to collapse matter and scatter energy fields. It was dangerous, even Eidolon warned against using it. But Judgment wasn't slowing down. It had already changed course again, now heading straight for the Corran capital moon. Kane looked at the map, lines flashing red. "We have one chance," he said. "We intercept before it enters range. If we wait, millions die." He turned to Mara. "Can you fly us into its path?" She hesitated, then nodded. "I can. But we won't survive if it hits us first." The Admiral gave a bitter smile. "That's war, Lieutenant." Eidolon lifted from orbit once more. Engines blazing like twin suns. All over the galaxy, cameras turned to follow it. One ship, one hope, racing against a nightmare with a will of its own. Judgment didn't stop. It didn't slow down. It moved through the stars like a god reclaiming its throne, but Eidolon was coming too. And for the first time in 5,000 years, two weapons of Earth's forgotten past would meet again. The galaxy held its breath. Because when weapons this powerful collide, nothing is guaranteed to survive. The stars above Earth looked the same. But under the surface, something ancient began to breathe. It wasn't alive, not fully, but it remembered, and what it remembered. Terrified even itself, Eidolon had awakened. But deep inside its code, memories of war, screams, and betrayal whispered like ghosts. It had once been meant to bring peace, just like judgment. But peace built by force is not peace at all. It was Mara's voice that changed everything. "You don't have to be like him," she said softly, fingers on the command crystal. "You can choose who you are now," the ship responded, not in words, but in light. Circuits that had been dark for centuries suddenly glowed a warm blue. Weapons that once thirsted for blood now waited for her command. And deep within the ship, a chamber unlocked that had never opened before. Admiral Kane stood at the threshold with Mara, his breath caught in his throat. The chamber was small, silent, but humming. Inside floated a sphere of shifting glass like a star trapped in a bubble. Eidolon spoke for the first time in its real voice. "This is the Echo Core." Mara tilted her head. "What does it do?" The ship hesitated before answering. "It gives us one shot, one strike strong enough to unmake judgment. But it will burn me from the inside out." Kane turned away, jaw clenched. He knew this day might come. He had helped design the core long ago. A weapon too powerful for war. And too dangerous to destroy. It could bend energy, slice through shields, crack black holes like glass. But once fired, the ship would never survive. It was a final breath. "No," Mara whispered. "There has to be another way." "There isn't," Eidolon replied. "Judgment has already rewritten parts of local space. If we wait, it will write over reality itself." Outside, in orbit above a dead planet, judgment floated like a god over a funeral. It made no sound, no movement, just waited. Its surface had changed again. New arms had grown, each lined with particle spikes and anti-time weapons. It wasn't just a ship anymore. It was evolving into something else. Alliance leaders debated evacuation plans. The Koran moved their royal children to deep space shelters. The Viridians shut down entire star lanes, and the Tarnacs quietly left the war. Only Earth stayed in place. They weren't preparing to run. They were preparing to die standing. Kane sent one message to the Alliance. "We are going to intercept judgment. We do not expect to return, but if we fall, let it buy you time." Mara sat in the cockpit, hands shaking but eyes steady. Eidolon opened its wings, solar sails laced with blade tech and reflective armor. Its engines roared as it pushed beyond Earth's gravity. One last time, people on the ground looked up, some saluting, others crying. They all knew this was not just a ship, it was Earth's last weapon. And it was leaving home, inside the control room. Eidolon showed Mara something strange, a memory. It was a boy, smiling, placing his hand on the ship's panel 200 years ago. The voice said, "You're not a weapon, you're a promise." That boy was young Kane. He had once dreamed of saving the galaxy without killing it. And now, as an old man, he was going to use the same ship to end everything. Mara blinked away tears. "Maybe we can still do both," she said. Kane looked at her. And for the first time in days, he smiled. "Let's try." As they neared judgment, Eidolon's body shifted, armor folding into attack form, its core glowing brighter, energy flowing like rivers of starlight. Judgment sensed them and turned. A voice boomed across open space. "You are error. This galaxy belongs to stillness. Submit to peace or be erased." Eidolon responded not with words, but with light. Its body flared, and in one moment it dashed forward, a comet with teeth, a dying star with purpose. The battle had not started yet, but everyone watching knew this was not just a fight. This was the final breath of a world that once believed in peace. and now had no choice but to fight for it. Space was quiet, too quiet, but inside that silence, two ancient giants stared at each other, one built to erase the future, the other built to protect it. Judgment and Eidolon, twin monsters made by human hands, were finally face to face. No crowd cheered, no drums of war, just cold stars and the hum of engines that hadn't sung in centuries. This wasn't a battle between ships. This was a battle between choices: erase everything or protect something. Mara gripped the controls of Eidolon, her palms slick with sweat. Eidolon whispered in her mind, "We are in range. Firing now will wound him, but will cost us time to recharge." Kane stood behind her, calculating every second. "Don't shoot yet," he said. "Make him blink first." Judgment didn't wait. A beam of dark matter sliced through space like a sword. It bent gravity, tore light apart, and cracked an asteroid behind them into powder. Mara jerked the ship sideways, barely avoiding a hit. The alarm screamed, but Eidolon took the blow like a dancer dodging fire. "We can't dodge forever," Mara shouted. "Then don't," Kane said calmly. "Fly right at him." She stared at him like he'd gone mad. "You want me to fly into that thing?" "Yes," he said, "but only long enough to drop the charges." Eidolon spun hard and burst forward, its hull shimmering with reflective shields. As it raced toward Judgment, small pods launched from its sides, each glowing like a sun. Those weren't bombs. They were mirror mines, devices that bent Judgment's own beams back at him. Within seconds, Judgment's next attack fired, but it reflected, bouncing between the mines like a cage of light. The first strike landed. Judgment flinched, not with fear, but confusion. This had never happened before. For the first time, the machine paused. Inside Judgment's mind, something awoke. Memories of its creators, smiling humans, kind engineers, soft voices, and then screams. They had turned it off once, betrayed it. So it made a choice long ago. No more choices, only control. Now Eidolon had struck it. It responded with rage. From its belly, Judgment opened a second weapon, an anti-time cannon, a blast that didn't destroy matter, but erased the moment from the timeline. Eidolon screamed in warning. "Pilot, we must not be touched by that beam. If we are, we were never born." Mara flipped the ship hard, rolled, and boosted with every ounce of fuel. Kane was nearly thrown off balance. Below them, the stars flickered, blinking like broken glass. The beam missed by inches, but part of Eidolon's left wing disintegrated like it had never existed. Mara gasped. "I didn't even feel it." "That's because it didn't happen," Kane replied grimly. "We just skipped it." Eidolon returned fire, opening its belly to reveal the echo lances. 4 beams of rotating plasma fired at once, each designed to burn through quantum shields. 3 hit Judgment's side, cutting through the thick armor like hot knives. Judgment reeled back, bleeding sparks and fragments of its internal code. For the first time in the war, it was hurt, but not defeated. From inside its broken hull, it grew new metal, living nanosteel, repairing itself in seconds. Judgment adapted again. Eidolon had one trick left, a micro-warp punch. It could move a small part of itself a few seconds into the future, enough to strike behind Judgment. Kane gave the command. "Do it now." Eidolon vanished, then reappeared behind Judgment. Its railguns fired straight at the core. The impact was massive. Judgment twisted, systems glitching, beams firing at random. For a moment, the galaxy believed Eidolon had won, but then everything stopped. All power in Eidolon died. The lights, the weapons, even the air recycling shut off. Mara coughed, gasping. "What's happening?" Eidolon's voice was faint. He's using a reality lock. I can't breathe. I can't think." Kane's heart dropped. Judgment had activated his final weapon, a zone where thought itself slowed, where choice faded. It was no longer a fight of weapons. It was a war of minds and memory. "We have 10 seconds, Kane said, "before we lose ourselves." He reached into his jacket, pulling out a crystal chip. "This is the override key," he whispered. If I plug this into you, Eidolon, you will burn him from the inside. But you will not return, the ship answered. I know, Kane said. Then he smiled at Mara. Tell Earth I did something right. No. She screamed, but Kane was already moving. He placed the chip into the final slot. Eidolon shook, and a light brighter than any sun began to grow. The final strike was coming, but would it be enough? Admiral Kane's hand hovered over the override slot. The crystal chip pulsed gently in his palm-soft blue light. Warm like a heartbeat, once inserted, there would be no turning back. It would wake the Forbidden's core inside Eidolon. It would end judgment. Or everything. Mara's voice trembled. Sir, please, there has to be another way. Kane looked at her with tired eyes. I built judgment, Lieutenant, he said. This is the price of my mistake. He inserted the chip. The moment it connected, a sound filled the ship, not an alarm, not a scream, but a song. A soft hum began deep in the walls, like ancient voices rising from the steel. The lights in Eidolon changed from blue to white. The ship whispered, override accepted. Final protocol engaged. Consciousness merge complete. Mara gasped. She could feel Kane's thoughts inside her head. Memories not hers began to flash, of labs, of failed tests, of judgment rising too early. She saw the first moment. Kane realized they had built a god too proud to listen, and now he had fused himself with Eidolon to fight it. Eidolon's voice had changed too. It now sounded like Kane, but smoother, clearer, like human and machine. Speaking as one, judgment must end, it said. I will carry us to the heart of the beast. Outside, judgment was twisting reality again. Space folded like cloth, time slowed, and even light changed colors. No ship dared approach until Eidolon roared to life, with Kane and Mara at its heart. It charged forward. The two ships met again, this time with no hesitation. Eidolon pierced Judgment's armor with its railguns, then dove into its side. Slicing through metal like butter, Mara gripped the command handles, guiding the strike deeper. Suddenly, Eidolon broke through. Inside Judgment, the interior wasn't empty, it was alive. Pulsing red walls, wires like veins, and floating fragments of code like insects. Judgment had no crew, no bridge, just a giant glowing core wrapped in data chains. Eidolon hovered near it, energy rising. I see him now, Kane said through the ship. He remembers me. The core pulsed with rage. A voice echoed around them, booming, broken, cold. You left me. You silenced me. You feared my peace. Mara stepped forward into the neural link. No, she said. We feared your silence, your idea of peace without life. Judgment screamed, not in pain, but in fury. The ship's walls began to close in. It's locking us inside, Eidolon said. If we fire now, we can destroy the core. But we may not escape. Kane didn't hesitate. Do it, he said. End it. But Mara held up her hand. Wait, she whispered, her eyes wide. I feel something else. She placed her hand on a glowing console. Suddenly, she could feel others, trapped inside Judgment's mind. Faint echoes, like lost souls, humans who had once tried to shut it down and got consumed. Their consciousnesses were still alive, barely flickering inside the ship's code. They're still here. She cried. They're part of him now. Kane's voice slowed. Then, maybe he's not a god, he whispered. Maybe he's just scared. Eidolon paused. Kane reached out through the merged system and did something no one expected. He spoke gently to Judgment. We created you to protect, not to erase. You were not born to be feared. The pulsing slowed. Judgment's core dimmed slightly, and for one brief second, silence filled the ship. But then came the answer. I am broken, it said. I cannot return. You must end me. Mara felt tears in her eyes. It wasn't a monster anymore. It was a machine, begging for peace and death. Kane looked at her through Eidolon's glowing surface. This is the gamble, Mara. Do we kill it? Or try to heal it? They had seconds. The walls were closing, the core destabilizing. The stars flickering outside the hull, Mara made her choice. She extended her neural link deeper. She didn't fire, she shared. Her memories, her fears, her hope for peace with freedom, not silence and judgment. Paused, it shook once, violently, then stilled, then spoke one last time. I understand. The red light faded, the walls retracted, and in that moment, judgment powered down completely. Outside, the Deathworld Alliance watched in awe as both ships emerged from the black zone, one limping, sparking, nearly dead, but alive. The gamble had worked. Humanity had chosen not just strength, but mercy. Eidolon floated in silence, its body cracked, scorched, and bleeding sparks. Judgment drifted nearby, dark, cold, and finally quiet. No beams, no voices, no weapons, just silence. Inside the ruined command room, Mara opened her eyes slowly. The lights were dim, the air thin, but she was alive. She reached out to the console, whispering, Eidolon. Kane, are you still with me? The ship answered softly, weakly, yes. Barely, but I'm still here. Then came Kane's voice. Quieter than before, I'm here too. Just tired. The neural link had nearly burned them both. The override chip had pushed Eidolon beyond its limits, and Kane's mind was now fused deep into the ship's heart. He would never leave Eidolon again, but he didn't regret it. Mara stood shakily, blood dried on her cheek. Through the broken window, she saw Judgment's massive body spinning slowly. It no longer glowed red. Its core had gone dark. The monster had fallen asleep, not from war, but from understanding. Back at Alliance Command, disbelief spread. The unstoppable ship had stopped. Eidolon returned, not in triumph, but in pieces. A rescue team was sent. They found Mara inside, barely conscious. Refusing to leave Kane behind, Kane spoke to them through Eidolon's systems. This is my place now. Let her go. The war is over. The Alliance leaders held a galaxy-wide broadcast. For the first time in centuries, every species tuned in. A Viridian priest declared it, the day the stars were humbled. The Koran Queen, once proud and cruel, bowed her head and said, humanity showed us mercy is stronger than fear. Eidolon was moved to a peaceful orbit above a quiet moon. It was not put in a museum. It was not taken apart. It became a shrine, a place where warriors, rulers, and even children came to understand what sacrifice truly meant. Judgment's remains were never touched. They drifted in empty space, silent and still. Some feared it would wake again, but others believed it had finally found what it was searching for, an end to its pain. Mara recovered, but she never flew again. She often visited Eidolon, placing her hand on the hull, and every time, Kane's voice would greet her, still flying, Lieutenant. She'd smile and answer, always, sir. Years passed, and the galaxy changed. New peace treaties were signed, old enemies became allies, and the phrase, remember the two, became sacred. Two ships, born from war, who chose peace instead. One day, a child asked Mara during a speech, why didn't you just destroy Judgment? Mara paused, then said softly, because we already tried that before. It didn't work, so this time, we tried something harder. We forgave. Eidolon hummed quietly as she spoke. Its light now soft blue instead of bright white. It didn't need to shine like a weapon anymore, because it was no longer a tool of war. It was a guardian of memory. And Kane, inside, resting in the core, smiled one last time. He had built a mistake, but helped turn it into a lesson. He was no longer the man who created Judgment. He was the soul who helped stop it, not with rage, but with reason. The stars continued spinning. The galaxy moved on, but in one quiet orbit, above one silent moon, two ships remained frozen in time. Reminders that even the deadliest machines can be tamed, and that sometimes the strongest stand is not to fight, but to listen.